neurodivergent folks don't do well with transitions, and it's so hard for us to get into routines and paces that are actually working well for us, so that when they get disrupted, it really throws us off. We're just trying to figure out how we can get back to any semblance of normalcy, of just trying to reestablish some of those good patterns and routines. So the day I'm filming this is Monday, January the 6th, and I think for a lot of people, this is their first day back to work, to regular schedules after the holidays. It's so hard for many of us to get back into a rhythm, into the swing of whatever comfortable routines and patterns we were in before all the madness started in November, December. So today I want to explore with you some neurodivergent friendly ideas and thoughts for how we can reset our routines after experiencing these disruptions. If you're new here, I'm Asia. I'm an ADHD and momentum coach, and this is You Can Do the Things. I'm here to help ambitious, neurodivergent, multi-passionate folks rebuild routines and be productive in a way that actually feels good and works well for you and wherever you're at in your life. So if you're feeling out of sync and just trying to get back into the swing of things, I feel you. Let's get into it. The first thing I want to say is just give yourself some grace. We tend to get into this place of being very energized to jump back into all the things that were working for us before and be like, okay, morning routine, night routine, all the things, here we go. That might work totally fine to take that approach. But I think for so many of us, we just feel overwhelmed. We kind of have a bit of a FOMO situation going on. Like we've missed things and we're behind. We already have this overflowing to-do list. And now we're in this place of feeling overwhelmed by all of that. These routines and this resetting, it doesn't have to be done at a specific speed or by a specific date or time. Building off of last week's video around easing into the new year, set things up in a way that is actually sustainable as opposed to trying to redo, reset everything all at once and burning out or suffering daily disappointment because you're not actually hitting those targets. One of my favorite things to do when I'm just trying to figure out what the heck is going on and my brain is loud and busy, I like to do a brain dump. And so this can look any kind of way that you like. Okay, trash pickup's coming through. I forgot to set the trash can out in time this morning. So I put it across the street and my neighbors, and I hope they pick it up. Heck yeah, they did it. Where was I? Brain dumping. I'm an analog person. I prefer the pen and paper situation. And so for me, I usually will do this in my notebook or on just a piece of paper. This brain dump is not edited. It is just an opportunity to get everything out of your head. It could be to-dos, thoughts, ideas, all the different things that are coming up. Put them down on there and see if you don't feel better, first of all. And then start going through it, kind of putting things where they go, whether it's on a to-do list or wherever you like to organize things. And so in doing that, you can start to get a little bit more clarity on what's really going on. Using this as an opportunity to take some of that stuff that is just swirling around in your mind and actually making it into something relatively concrete and putting in words is really powerful. And so I just highly recommend it as a general tool in your toolbox. A second idea for resetting your routines is just starting really small. In this, you are essentially identifying your minimum viable routine elements that help kind of anchor you at different points of the day. I talked about this with a client who had been out of town for a couple of weeks and was trying to get back into things. And a couple of the things that anchor their morning routine are a walk or going to the gym. Using that anchor point as a way of identifying that you're on the right track. Just using the morning routine as an example, you might find that some of the other elements of your morning routine will start to happen if you have an anchor that works well for you. Zoom out and say, what is the one or two, don't get carried away, key element of this morning routine that is going to help me feel like I'm on the right track, or is one of the things that really makes my morning routine work for me. And so in identifying that one element and making sure that that is something you prioritize, that's going to give you something to build momentum from. Once that starts to feel relatively in place, then you can start adding in the other elements. Listen, I can hear you being impatient with me and with that idea right now. And that's fine. if you want to actually succeed at rebuilding this routine, resetting this routine, one of the best ways to do that is to do it in small steps to actually create a sustainable growth path forward. And that's what I really want for you. So as you're thinking about the routines you want to reset, consider what that minimum element is and how you can use that as an anchor in that routine as you rebuild. And the third idea, which is another big favorite of mine personally, is resetting your physical space. Such a good one for changing the energy and how you relate to your space. One of the things that I've done in the past has been to reset my desk space, clean everything off, maybe get rid of some things and just regroup myself with my workspace and then it's there. I find that process of reacquainting myself with my space can be energizing. It could just be refreshing things. Maybe you got some flowers. Maybe you move a piece of furniture, add a little bit of decoration or flair someplace. Even small shifts in your environment can change how you feel. You can also use this resetting of your physical space as an opportunity to set it up in a way that is creating a supportive environment for those routines and rhythms that you're trying to get back into. If you are wanting to make sure that you get out for your runs in the morning, is there a way that you can organize your running gear so that is easier to get to, easier to find or see? Maybe you are wanting to devote more time to a hobby. I'm actually sitting at this table with my sewing stuff and it changes how I feel. This is mostly used as my office, but being able to see this other activity reminds me it's not all about work. My sewing is something I would like to have more as part of my routine. And so talking about these visual tools and cues leads into the next idea for resetting your routines. And that's really about how can we better utilize visual tools, visual cues, visual aids, what have you. For us ADHDers, visual cues and prompts can be a game changer, at least in my experience. Part of us is a little bit nervous that we're going to forget things that are important. It could be a sticky note that says drink water. It could be a little whiteboard that details out the different elements of your morning routine, your evening routine, and you can check them off. Whatever is going to help you communicate to yourself some of these things that you want to be sure that you're incorporating, but also leaving certain things in certain places. It might be like setting out your workout clothes the night before so that they're easy to grab in the morning and it helps remind you. That's a really great way to not have to depend on internal motivation and all of that remembering, which we're not always great at. I'm curious if there's any specific visual tools or prompts that you use that you found really helpful. Another idea, tip, suggestion for resetting routines is getting back into our bodies a bit, establishing some balance within ourselves physically. And in that process, we also can find some balance mentally. So making sure that you stay hydrated, move your body with some intention every day, and take regular little breaks throughout the day to just check in with yourself, whether that's doing a body scan, taking a pause to take a couple of deep breaths and just see, what am I paying attention to right now? How am I feeling? How do I want to proceed? Those little things you can do at any point during the day. And we also know that because hydration is so important for cognitive functioning, and movement can be a really helpful regulation tool and is going to help us function better, which is going to help us do our routines. We tend to have pretty rigid thinking, but we can practice more flexible thinking. This is really important for us because when we get into states of rigid thinking, we're in this all or nothing mode. So it's not, I have no routines, everything is crap, to everything is aligned and exactly the way I want it to be. Your routine might look different now than it did before the break. And that's totally okay. And maybe the goal is to get to where you were before. Allow yourself to have this intermediary routine and rhythm. And be compassionate with yourself. Give yourself some time to ease back into it, to find your way in a way that you can be consistent with as much as possible. The idea here is really about finding some progress, finding some forward movement without this obligation to do everything just right. And one thing I wanted to offer you is that if you are doing that brain dump and you're trying to figure out like, okay, here's all this stuff, what do I do with it? I do have a prioritization matrix template which I will link down below. If you're interested in learning more about how you can use prioritization matrices, let me know. I'll make a video about it. It's a thing I'd love to demonstrate. I'd love to hear in the comments what you're working towards and if there's any of these ideas here that you're curious to experiment with. So just remember, resetting routines is not about doing everything all at once. We want to massage that all or nothing thinking into something that has a little bit more flexibility, into something that has a little bit more self-compassion. And that will help us create those small steps that build momentum so we can actually do the things that we want to do, because you can do the things. Stay curious and be kind to yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.